What's happened here is an unprecedented, systematic attack on Iran international journalists and their family members. So, over the last 4 weeks, regrettably, there have been extremely serious threats to 45 journalists from Iran International and to their family members. So, that's about 315 family members worldwide. For the very first time, we are seeing on a systematic basis threats to kill family members. So individuals being told that brothers and sisters will be killed unless the journalists stop working for Iran International. And combined also with very short-term deadlines. So whilst it's not new for Iran International journalists to be targeted because of their work, and for the Iranian authorities to be using a wide range of transnational repression tools to try to silence them, what's happening in the last 4 weeks is far more grave and far more serious and far more urgent than anything we've seen before.
How do you expect the United Nations special rapporteur to respond to the complaint? What tangible actions can realistically be followed?
Well, we're making this very urgent complaint to 5 of the United Nations special rapporteurs. Firstly, and most importantly, to the Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial killings, because there are now repeated threats to kill Iran international journalists for doing their jobs and also their family members simply for being associated with loved ones who are journalists. So that's the first thing, extrajudicial killings. Second, we're going to the Special Rapporteur on freedom of expression, on torture, and on counter-terrorism. So they are all special rapporteurs who have expertise in relation to these issues. Now, we think ordinarily we would be waiting until September when the Human Rights Council sits. But our view is that this is so urgent that it simply cannot wait until September. So in the first instance, we're asking the special rapporteurs to send an urgent communication to the Iranian authorities, raising serious concerns about these matters and making clear that when it comes to the Human Rights Council in September in Geneva, and to the General Assembly in New York in September, that states will hold them to account and the UN will hold them to account if these threats have not receded.
Obviously, the case of Iran International is quite extraordinary. Some of our colleagues have been even subject to assassination attempts, including myself. But we are not the only one. There are other Persian media outlets in Europe, in the United States, that are under similar threats. And even though Iran is probably the biggest player in this arena, it's not the only country. We know Belarus, Russia, other countries are threatening journalists as well. If the United Nations takes up this case, what precedent could it set for other media organizations and journalists facing similar threats from hostile states?
It's a very good question. So firstly, in relation to Iran's tactics of using transnational repression, it's of vital importance that robust action is taken by the United Nations now. As you've said in your question, Iran International is not the only one. There is targeting of other Farsi language media organizations around the world, including the BBC News Persian, Deutsche Welle, and indeed the Voice of America Farsi service was targeted for some time. But what we're now seeing is that Iran International is public enemy number one for the Iranian authorities. So these more extreme tactics will undoubtedly spread to other Iranian language media services unless robust action is taken. And secondly, these tactics which Iran is now using transnationally, using the long arm of the state to try to silence journalists wherever in the world they may be, those tactics are viewed and copied by other repressive regimes, including China, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Belarus. So again, if the United Nations fails to take robust action in relation to the case of Iran International, it will be emboldening for other states who will see what Iran is doing and who will copy Iran's horrendous, vile tactics.
Obviously, Iran is enjoying some level of immunity through the diplomatic missions all around the world. And even though domestically they obviously threaten family members, or even on the state national TV, they threaten Iran International and its journalists, but overseas, their diplomats, their officials, they always deny any physical attempt to harm us. How can you navigate that deniability that the Iranians continue to portray for the foreign governments and organizations like the UN?
Well, a key part of preparing this case, which we filed with the UN, has been gathering the evidence. Now, it's understandably very, very difficult for journalists who are targeted in this way to think about taking screen grabs or keeping the evidence trail, because often people are getting these threats at very early in the morning, very late at night, and in circumstances where many people find it difficult to actually keep an evidence trail. And also, many of the threats which are being made to loved ones in Iran in circumstances where, if they liaise with their relative who's a journalist, they themselves may also be targeted through anti-terrorism legislation in Iran. So it makes it very difficult to pull together the evidence. But I'm pleased to say that the evidence we've pulled together in these 45 cases is extremely strong and undeniable, and makes very clear that these are state-backed threats and that these are coming from the highest levels within the Iranian authorities. Now, I should say there's 7 key states in particular that are affected. So the 45 individuals who are the subject matter of this new urgent appeal and their family members come from the UK, the US, Canada, Sweden, Germany, Turkey, and Belgium. And it's of vital importance that those 7 states step up and support our appeal to the United Nations. And they make clear that it is utterly unacceptable to treat their citizens and their residents in this way.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Edith. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.